this then triggered quite a lot of sort of accountant-like activity. I asked my accountant for a trial balance to open this year's accounts, which end my business, coaching business, which ends on the 31st of August. And at this rate, I'll be so efficient with this desk, he'll have them on the 1st of September. I updated my net worth spreadsheet because those two manifestations had improved it enormously. And then I checked my income going all the way back to 2007 because I was curious to do that after the snakes and ladders discussion that we had in last week's call, if you remember. And true to my memory, it was very snaky and very laddery.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Afternoon? Oh, morning. I don't know what it is. What is it?
It's around lunchtime somewhere.
Yeah, it is. That's the confusing thing. It's 1 o'clock, but I haven't had my lunch. So good morning.
Yes, same to you.
Yeah.
Did you notice you had to enter via a waiting room this time?
I was in the middle of typing something else and I ignored it, but it said something like, Nicola's got to give you permission to join or something. And I thought, oh, for heaven's sake.
Power, you see. I like a bit of power.
Let her get on with it was what I thought.
Zoom has insisted that you either give people a password or you make them wait in a waiting room. And so I thought the waiting room would be the less onerous of the two.
Well, in a way, it'll just prove that I'm always here first.
I suppose so.
Very satisfying. Now, tell me about your week.
Well, it's been a good week. Very good, in fact. I had a tea and cake round Heather's, which morphed into wine round Heather's. Then it morphed into fish and chips with Richard and Phoebe.
And you see, fish and chips is my favourite.
You see, it was very disappointing. It never lives up to the smell.
Well, that's what you say.
I know, and again, I was proved correct.
Is that just because you don't have a good fish and chip shop in?
No, we've got one that everyone swears by, but they just don't cook it long enough for me. The batter and the chips just are not golden brown enough.
Can you not ask for it?
Well, I could have done, but I wasn't ordering. So
yeah, well, next time you've got to.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
And then that was very pleasant. That was Monday. I've had my mate Pete, on the phone going. They're booking a holiday to Stupa, and he doesn't watch the news or anything. And I said, look, I'd love to come. I really would. A week in Stupa sounds gorgeous. 2 weeks in Stupa sounds even better. But I can't take the psychological pain of getting to Kalamata, them doing a spot check, and then one person on the plane having the virus, which is, if I was a betting woman, and I am, that's quite high odds, and then being either having to solitary confine myself or go home. It's just not worth it for me. So
I totally agree, because actually all you've achieved by then is absolutely the worst bit of any travel.
Exactly, and even worse than that, the Greeks the cases are rising, so they're going to be stamping down on travel. I think.
Yeah. I have put on hold all plans for travel for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And then what else?
Sorry, is Pete still going?
I don't know. Is the answer?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Pete and Eleanor Pete.
It's Pete and Eleanor Pete and his sister and someone else.
Yeah. Okay.
And he just doesn't watch the news or listen to the news or anything, so he leads a nice, blissful.
Yes,
life.
Lucky him.
But in the meantime, he's making decisions that I think are, perhaps not the
rash.
Well, I think they're just not sensible, really.
Yes.
They're too hopeful and optimistic.
Yes.
But that's all over, isn't it?
Well, I like him for that.
Yeah, exactly. He's a lovely guy. And then I had a poker night with the other Pete, and managed to get down to the final 5 in a tournament, which I think I might have won something for that. I think it was a $1.50 tournament. I think I probably won about between £7 and £10. So that's paid for my next few weeks' entertainment.
Okay.
I do like a hobby that pays for itself.
Are you saying that it costs £1 to go? What does it cost on Wednesdays to do this?
We're playing virtual poker online. It costs £1 per game.
God
so some days we're knocked out early and we have to go and find another game. So it can cost anything up to $5, I think, for an evening.
Okay.
Not counting the pizza and the wine. And then
lockdown's so cheap, isn't it? Lockdown is so cheap.
We'd be spending 100 times that if we were going
Quite.
to casino. That's
Quite, yeah.
For a steak dinner and tournament. But we are going to do that when it opens, we've decided. He's looking forward to that. And he's got a new girlfriend, so he's telling me all about that in a rather sheepish fashion.
Can I just say here that from the first moment I knew you, when you used to talk about Vegas and fluffy mules, do you remember?
Yes.
I mean, casino's your middle name, really.
It is. Nicola Casino Cairncross.
Yes, it is.
But the funny thing is, I don't like to play any of the games. It's only poker and roulette.
I just love the concept of a steak dinner as well. It's so deliciously naff, isn't it?
Oh, well, it is. We're very 70s.
Yeah.
But, if you're very good, you get a prawn cocktail.
Oh, yes. Oh, and we used to go to the Burning Inn for that, and we'd have Black Forest Gatto for pudding, if you remember.
Oh, it's the only pudding. Either that or tiramisu.
If I were in, well, we didn't do tiramisu in the 70s, but I'd have to have that menu ironically now.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I do. I sit there and I think I'm having this dinner ironically, and it tastes none the less delicious for
Well, funnily enough, of course, steak is a marvellous thing. But if you do a prawn cocktail right, it's a wonderful thing.
It is.
I'm actually not convinced there's any redeeming a Black Forest Gatto.
Oh, they're delicious. That
No.
cherry and chocolate together. God.
Well, cherry and chocolate is together, but all iterations are generally naff and less homemade. And people are a bit inclined to put kirsch in. I don't like booze in my puddings.
Oh, I love booze in my pudding.
No, grimsky, horrid.
Just to generally add to the
cherry trifle, no, yuck.
Anyway, so that was all good. And the other thing I've done this week is I am now a precious metals investor.
Cool. In which precious metals have you invested?
Silver.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Have you done it with what's his name?
I've done it with bullion by post.
Oh, I was thinking of what's his name. Your friend, Minesh.
Minesh. No, he teaches people how to trade gold and silver options.
Okay.
I'm not that bright.
Okay.
So I've just bought some coins. And the reason I've done that, and I'm not going to bang on about this, but I do feel that anyone who's interested in this stuff, go and watch a new video on YouTube by Alasdair, that's Alasdair with a D, Macleod.
You could just send me a link, darling. I'll put it in the show notes.
I will, yes. It's a very, very good video which talks about the financial situation and what might happen over the next year.
And if I could just say at this point, I don't agree with any of it. So watch the video and, make up your own mind, team.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But it sent me to take that action. But I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to show the kids when it all arrives.
I don't think that investing in gold and silver can ever be bad. It's a bit
that's what I thought.
No, exactly right. You must remember, though, that they don't make you anything while you've got them. It's capital gain or loss. They don't make interest. No,
they don't. But
it's buy and hold.
You don't make any you don't have any capital gains on coins.
Well, what I'm saying is that's tax. You only make a capital gain or loss on holding gold and silver. Yeah. But, so it doesn't make any money for you or contribute to passive income or anything.
My overall survival.
It's a balance sheet strategy, Nicola.
Yes, I know. Well, it's a peace of mind strategy for me as well. So now that's done, I can tick that bit off my list.
And I tell you who would approve of your choice is Mark Mahoney, whatever his name is, the prepper.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike
Mahoney, the prepper.
Yes. Well, he's going to be next. Either him or Max Kaiser are going to be next because my next action is allocated bullion.
Well, that's how I met them both together on the stage in London.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, you met Max Kaiser?
Yes.
Wow, fancy that.
Yeah.
And Mike.
Together, Mike Mahoney put on a thing and Max Kaiser was a speaker, and they were talking about filling your shed with baked beans because soon this day was going to come. It's taken a decade to come.
Yeah, I know.
And that we should have invested in gold and silver back in 20. I've got the blog post somewhere. I'm sure I've shared it with you before.
Yeah, you probably did. Yeah, but you have to come to things in your own time, don't you?
Yes, indeed you do.
A bit slower than most.
No, I don't think that's true.
Well, what's on some things I am. What's your week been like? That's my week.
Yes, right. So I promised myself when I moved here and set up a desk in the laundry room and got settled in that I would do two things: return to Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program, about which more later, and get my property accounts done for the year just ended on the 5th of April 2020 so that I could send my stuff to my accountant for the tax return, which isn't due until the 31st of January 2021. But I did them on Monday and I felt fantastic. And it was the trigger for an extraordinary chain of events this week. So after hoarding them for a few weeks, I started to spend my business bounce back loans. Last week I told you I'd paid my accountant's bill. That was in my coaching business. And this week I paid down some service charges on the Daggy seaside flats. And I did that thing where the abundant part of me wanted to pay the bills, knowing that in so doing, you're demonstrating that the universe has got your financial back and more will be given to you.
Yeah.
Versus the accountant in me who never wants to pay anything before funds have come in first.
Yeah.
And I overrode the accountant version of me, and I paid out nearly £5,000 in service charges on 2 of the 3 seaside flats. And within hours, I heard 2 great bits of financial news. Firstly, that someone who owes me some money is going to pay me much more generously than we had first agreed. Like 10 to 20 times more than he initially said he would.
Nice.
And secondly, that my mortgage lender on the 3rd flat had agreed to absorb into the mortgage another large chunk, £12,000, of unpaid service charges, thereby increasing the monthly mortgage repayment by the princely sum of £19 without me having £19, without me having to find £12,303 to pay them.
Very nice indeed. I've got another bit of good news for you.
Well, I haven't finished yet.
Oh, okay.
This then triggered quite a lot of sort of accountant-like activity. I asked my accountant for a trial balance to open this year's accounts, which end my business, coaching business, which ends on the 31st of August. And at this rate, I'll be so efficient with this desk, he'll have them on the 1st of September. I updated my net worth spreadsheet because those 2 manifestations had improved it enormously. And then I checked my income going all the way back to 2007 because I was curious to do that after the snakes and ladders discussion that we had in last week's call, if you remember. And true to my memory, it was very snaky and very laddery.
Yes, I can imagine.
You know, in some of those years, it's like 4 and 5 times what I make in other years.
I know.
It's what I said, but I didn't have the figures at my disposal last week, but I just had a sense that was right, and I went and checked it, and that was right. Now, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that literally only this morning somebody sent me a thing from a business paper that said that the government are already thinking about turning those bounce back loans into grants or turning them into something like a student loan that can be paid back out of profits over the next 10 years.
Well, already it's being paid back out of profits over the next 6 years, which is pretty good. And we don't have to pay anything for the first year. But if they do the former, which I believe they will, under the Nasara Jasara rules, which I've told you about, I do think quite a lot of us are going to have debt written off, including student debt and mortgage debt and other sorts of debt coming up imminently.
Nice. So only pay your minimums for a little while.
Well, no, I mean, it's up to you, really, because I think even if you've paid it off, I think you'll be compensated, a bit like the PPI.
Yeah. Oh,
we'd paid those things, but we were compensated.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a lot of jiggery-pokery in the financial services industry for which they will be held feet to the fire.
Well, let's hope so.
Mm.
Right, what's fueled your fire then?
Do you want me to go first?
Yes.
Do you remember Paula MacArthur?
Of course I do.
We went to her house, do you remember, and saw her little baby once, and then she spoke for us at the Globe. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Very slim, blonde and glamorous.
Yes, that's right. And then also, do you remember John Richardson, who is he spoke for us at the in our laptop
lifestyle.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, did you know that they're an item?
I think I did.
Yes, I think I told you. They are engaged to be married, and unbeknownst to me, they'd had to postpone their wedding due to COVID. Anyway, they live 16 miles from here. I house sat their house for them last July while they went to Greece for a long time. They like to go to Greece for a long time in the summers, and obviously they're not doing that this year. They like Santorini. And they came over for lunch on Saturday and brought lunch with them. And John cycled because during lockdown, he's gone on a fitness jag. His comorbidity is a bit of asthma, and that worried him into losing I think about 20 kilos. I don't really know what a kilo is, to be honest with you, but it's quite a lot of weight. And funnily enough, when I saw them last year, I'm not sure I'd ever met John before. I think I'd only seen him in photographs, and he's very handsome in photographs. And when I saw him in the flesh, and I said this to him on Saturday, I did think, oh, John, you've put on a bit of weight. But I said, the thing is, you do wear it very well. He's very handsome, even when he's fat.
Yes.
he is slim now, and of course Paula prefers him like that because she's a skinny person herself. But anyway, I'd forgotten what excellent fun it is to spend time with other funny, clever, self-employed people. And afterwards, they sent me a message telling me how much they enjoyed my company. And he asked me to review a chapter of the current book he's writing, which was an honour. And this set a trend. Another friend is coming over tomorrow, and she's volunteered to bring lunch with her as well.
Oh, nice.
Invite yourself over, why don't you, and bring lunch with you. I mean, actually, but what fueled my fire was, and I put it in I Love My Life, and Irene agreed with me, it's the intelligent company with other people like you. And at some point I said, how long have you been self-employed? And John said, all my life. And Paula said 20-something years. And when we added it up, we'd been self-employed between the three of us for nearly 100 years.
Wow, brilliant.
So just chatting to people like that who get up in the morning and expect to make their own opportunities and laugh about it in the way that we did last week with that sort of darkness, and adapt when markets no longer work for them, and make money online and work from home and all the things. They're like you and I rolled up in a about to be married couple. By which I mean, she does. Yeah. So she's very good at internet marketing, and he advises businesses.
Yeah, I remember he was the coffee chap, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. But also before the coffee, he'd written this. Well, he's still coffee, and she teaches therapists how to make a living. And I tried to persuade them that actually, both of them are very hard sell. It's very, very difficult to make a profit in a coffee shop. In an independent coffee shop, it's very, very difficult to persuade therapists how to make a business. Now, they're both very worthwhile things. There's a lot of pain there, but you'd have few success stories in either of those, to be honest with you. Yeah. And I tried to persuade them, my viewpoint, which is, why don't we just start selling people things that they love buying rather than the things that they need? I'm not sure that either of them will switch overnight, but they might. It might set their thinking going, I think. But exactly. It was just lovely to have a chat about things like this, face to face, with real business people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's been a long time, Nicola. Lockdown, it's been a long time. So it just feels, people are coming over. Ooh, it just feels like such a treat. And I don't even really like people very much. I'm perfectly happy on my own. I mean, it was just, it's the rarity value of a visit.
Yeah, yeah. You can, honestly, when they bring their own, that's perfect, isn't it?
Well, isn't it perfect? They both of them turned into vegetarians, so it was even more perfect.
Oh, nice. So, okay, so what's fueled my fire? Well, yes. I'm sitting here in the happy. I'm going to tell you a bit more in project updates, more detail. But I'm sitting here in the happy position of having an offer that converts, doing work that I love, with a marketing channel that Facebook cannot knock out the window without a blink of an eye. I'm moving all of my content. I've moved half of it to a new platform, Thinkific, which is against my grain because it's hosted online.
Yeah, but it's such a good idea because it's so accessible for people to study like that, isn't it?
Nice. Yep. It's so nice to use. And when I went through a course that was on it, I just thought, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So I'm getting rid of my clunky old forum site, which clients really didn't enjoy that much, and going over to Thinkific. There's a few little teething things, like I have to use Zapier to hook it up to my active campaign email list host, but it seems to be working okay, so I'm good. And I've already added, I'm so fired up, my fire has been fueled so much that I've added an extra call-in session on Thursdays for my Australian and New Zealand clients.
Excellent. What time of your day or night is that?
It's 8:00 in the morning.
Yes.
A little shock to my system this morning.
Yes, and it's sort of 8:00 plus at night for them, isn't it?
Because I have to get up at 7 to dodge around Nelson in the kitchen and the bathroom. So, but one of them, she turned up from New Zealand, so that was perfect, and it made it worth it. And
I love talking to those people down there as well.
Yeah, well, she's a really established businesswoman, and she said something so wonderful. She said, after I'd paid, I did a little happy dance. And I thought, God, it's not often you get that people saying that, is it?
No, I think what's interesting about this, where we're bigging up people who are long in the tooth and being established as business people, is that all our other little clients all have the opportunity to turn into that, and may do if they stick at it long enough, I think.
Oh, absolutely, and it's inspirational when and even those clients who this lady's a mature businesswoman, and she's still excited and enthused and trying new things and all that stuff, and I just thought, oh, this is fantastic.
I also think it's a bit more challenging for us. It makes us work harder, doesn't it? Because they're on the leading edge of it rather than following on behind a bit.
Yeah, you can't get bored, can you?
No.
Best form.
Not that I ever do. Do you?
I sometimes get a little bored when I hear myself saying, let's go and open up your Google Analytics and let's go and have a look. But I've got something special to tell you about that little phrase in project updates.
Okay.
So let's have our focus of the week then.
Yes. Okay. So we're doing another one from that lovely collection that we did 10 days ago.
Nice.
And I'm not quite sure what to call this one. Overwhelmed doing everything yourself. So Hannah G. Wiley, who is a Facebook and Google Ads expert who lives in Medellin, Colombia, wants to know, her dilemma is to find a partner or not to find a partner when you are overwhelmed with doing everything yourself. Should you outsource, get a VA, or a partner? That's what I'm asking myself in my business now.
That's not you. Oh, that's her.
Yes, that's her.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. Well, Hannah, I've got a couple of resources for you before we talk about it generally. We've talked about partners in the past on episode 29, how much do you give away to a potential partner, and episode 77, where partners, a mixed blessing, was under discussion.
Okay.
And I think you should definitely go and check those out because I think you'll find them really interesting and useful. I've been a Facebook ads person, agency person, and I didn't feel overwhelmed because I started that immediately with help. We're not sure about whether you can afford to outsource or get a VA, or I'm wondering why you want a partner as opposed to outsourcing or getting a VA. My experiences are that I had partners in Artist Manager. I gave away half the business to a techie guy who was supposed to do all the tech. And of course, because he didn't earn any money in the first couple of years, didn't do it. So that brought that business to a juddering halt. And in fact, I got as far as nearly getting on Dragon's Den with that one. But I'm glad I didn't now because he would have let me down. So then I went into the Money Gym where I had an altogether much more positive experience with partners. I did the Money Gym on my own for a while, and then I had this brilliant idea that this fantastic client of mine could join me in the Money Gym. I rang her up and I said, here, how'd you fancy this? And the story is legend because she is on this podcast with me today. And we had Steve as well, didn't we? So we were I think that's a good example of business partners because we're all very different. I think that made it simultaneously easier and harder because we all had very different personality types.
Yeah.
But we all brought different strengths to the table, and it was fun. We had a laugh a lot of the time. But the one thing I did find, and that wasn't anyone's fault at all, probably not even including mine, was that you do tend to go along with the majority thoughts and perhaps don't stick up for your ideas enough. That's the only regret I think looking back I had.
And I think interestingly, in our case, there were three of us. If Hannah's thinking of taking on a partner, if you are anywhere close to 50-50, you can never make anything happen.
That's very true. Yeah, deadlock. Yeah.
That's awful. That's awful. I've told the story before on here where a client of mine, two chaps who ran a cheese shop, they had 49% each and gave me a 2% casting vote because they both trusted me to make the decision based on the proposal in front of the two of them, not siding with one or other of them.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest.
Yeah.
That's the best way forward, definitely.
You do need a casting vote.
Then I went into business with Neil, who has remained a friend, despite the fact that our partnership was an absolute disaster after 2 years. It was all right up until then.
Would you say it was an absolute disaster? I think that's a bit harsh.
Well, no, it wasn't an absolute disaster. We created a very successful business, which he still has today. It was all down to me, that not working out, because I just felt on the back foot all the time and didn't feel I could. I don't know. I was still emotionally driven in those days, and it wasn't a good match. And then, of course, I am actually partners with someone in Stupa Life at the moment, but they're much more of a sleeping partner who put up the cash initially, and I talk to whenever I've got a question, that I want to talk through with someone, and I value that a lot. But he defers to me in terms of tech and stuff like that, and also the local knowledge, of course. So I've had mixed bags. What about you, Judith?
Well, I think Hannah needs all three because I think all three of them provide a different thing. So you outsource some things, you have a VA that does other things, and you have a partner for different reasons. I wouldn't want a partner who, instead of an outsourced resource or a VA, because a partner is an equal, and outsourcing and VA are people who you're paying, to do things by the hour or by the chunk. So I think, I tell you what I would do, Hannah. Have you read a rather old-fashioned book called The E-Myth Revisited? Because it's about the different roles that need playing in any business. And at the beginning, you either perform them all yourself, or you and your partner or partners perform them all yourselves. But sooner or later, you want outsource or team members to do all of the tasks for you and for you to direct the business. And I think that what they teach us to do in that book, which nobody ever does, but it's brilliant, is you draw up a job description. So you draw up a job description of the tasks you might outsource. You draw up a job description of the things a VA might do for you, and you draw up a job description of the things you think you want a partner for. And that might be, two equals in it together, emotional support as much as anything. And then you hire to the job description. So you don't find somebody you like. That's what we did, Nicola, 2 creators. You don't find somebody you like, get on with like a house on fire and work together, because that's a disaster. You don't need 2 creators. You need somebody who's a yin and yang for your skill set. And I think that is bloody annoying, but it's essential. And every business partnership I've ever seen that's yin and yang and bloody annoying and essential, they all break up in the end, because you're drawn to these people sensibly because they make up for your shortcomings, but then that just drives you round the bend. However, if you can get your head around that, it's the right way. But I wouldn't be hiring a partner because you've got too much work on. I'd be hiring a partner because you want to grow the business and 2 people go further than one alone. Meanwhile, I'd start with 10 hours a month of a VA and finding some really talented people you can outsource elements of your business to. So I think you want all 3. And what your question is about overwhelm. So overwhelm can be reduced by outsourcing talent and VAs. Partners is more about forward movement.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that.
Growth. And you've got the best problem there is to have, and it's also the trickiest. What you are is on the cusp of huge potential and business growth. And what you have to decide yourself is, do I want a half or a third share or a 40% share of a bigger business? Am I ambitious to take my business somewhere? Or am I self-sufficient? And because actually I find you earn the same amount. You usually earn the same amount whatever route you go. And I prefer to do it on my own.
Yeah, I do too. And
I don't think, when you were talking about Neil, I was thinking she's not ideal partner material, really, Nicola. You're autonomous. And then you go, Hannah, are you autonomous? Or, or do you want somebody to share it with?
What do you mean when you say that?
Well, you work best on your own.
I do. And I care more.
And you're a law unto yourself as well. You don't fit in any boxes. You're a law unto yourself. So, Hannah, have you had a job where you worked well with other people? Do you miss elements of that? Do you miss the, camaraderie of doing it with someone? That's the only real reason for a partner, apart from this growth thing. I'd start with outsourcing and VA while you're getting clear about what you're looking for in a business partner.
Yeah, because sometimes you look for a business partner because you think it's going to make you more accountable, or sometimes you look for a business partner because you think they're going to take the responsibility of the decision making.
But because you think you're finding it a bit lonely doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Or you realise, I don't know if she's done a wealth dynamics profile or any profile. None of us cover, in the wealth dynamics, there's 8 quarters and you cover 3. So you're looking for the other 5 to be done by somebody else or a combination of somebody else's.
Yeah, but know that if you pick a partner who's got opposing skills to you, they won't work in the same way.
Well, no, they're bloody annoying. And that's what Steve found us to be, bloody annoying. And that's what sometimes we found working with him to be.
Yes, and we obviously found each other really annoying on occasions as well. So.
Well, you are the most annoying person ever, as I said to you last week. But I think it's good to know yourself, Hannah.
Yeah, and also, if you can... It is a lonely journey, but it's the best personal development journey you'll ever go on, is to be a solopreneur and then grow into a business where you don't have to do everything yourself. And if you can do that without a partner, I honestly believe that partners unless in exceptional circumstances, are going to be like a ball and chain around your ankle. That's how I feel with them.
And I think that it depends how old you are as well, Hannah, because what's ideal is to try all of these options and then work out which one you like best.
Yes.
And I also would put a partner on, what do you do when you test people? What's that called in a job?
Oh, a trial period.
Yes, on a trial period.
Yes.
So get engaged to be married. Get engaged to be married for a year at least before you decide to ratify it.
And I'm pretty sure we talk in one of those other episodes about the whole thing of what you should do legally if you're thinking of going into business with someone.
Yeah.
And things like that. So do go and listen to those other episodes, because, you know, you shouldn't be signing anything away or giving any shares away in anything till you're absolutely... And you've got to have performance clauses as well, because sometimes people start out well and they're all fired up and everything's wonderful, and then they decide that they don't like the responsibilities their job entails, and they go off the boil, and there's nothing worse.
It's not just that. You've got to think of unforeseen things, like what if somebody's parent dies? What if the new partner gets, quite seriously ill? You know, there's a lot of, life doesn't go like that a lot, but when you're thinking about setting up partnership agreements with people, you have to think about the worst case scenarios and legislate for that. So we all know what we're going to do if that happens.
Yeah. I mean, with Neil and I, it was something as simple as he moved to Australia, and that shouldn't be a problem, except that it meant that he always wanted to talk to me at the crack of dawn.
Yeah, I agree. It's completely unacceptable. I know.
And it was just, that's one of the things that I couldn't get on with. So
there was a chap who wasn't a partner, but was trying to help me with something for a couple of years in the last decade, and he would never make an appointment, and then you'd be on your guard waiting for it to happen all the time, and he would inevitably pick late on a Sunday night or just 5 minutes before the deadline, and I just couldn't work like that, so I withdrew.
Yeah, that's right. And you've got, yes, absolutely, find people that work like you. Now, what if Hannah is only earning enough to pay herself, but she's still feeling overwhelmed?
I don't think that's her issue. I don't get the sense that that's her issue. I think that the thing is, for Hannah, I think it's which is the best choice. Now, if you want to address that point anyway, because other people listening will be feeling a bit skint and scarce about outsourcing and VAs.
Yeah, well, I think that in that case, then, if you've got, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you're not ready to hire other people yet, even someone in, overseas, it's then a question of going and getting really, really, really organised. And I found Traction to be the best book for that. I still refer to it all the time. And, it's just a really great book to do a 2-page business plan that you refer to quarterly. And yes, and the E-Myth book is awesome on how to, put yourself in every position, but then report to yourself. So again, I was reading, Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross, who is the guy from Salesforce. And that again talks about how you can't be a marketer and a salesperson on the same day. And I think you can't be the boss of a business and someone who works in the business on the same day. So zoning your time. So perhaps on a Monday you do admin, finance and forward planning. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you work in your business. And then Friday, you do your marketing. So you've got a different hat on every day. And you know exactly who you're supposed to be being on any one day, because that reduces the feeling of overwhelm dramatically for me.
I was thinking that actually overwhelm is what this is about, and you can't make good decisions about outsourcing VAs and partners when you're overwhelmed. So I would do 2 things if I was her, which is separately from the business demands, I would address the overwhelm with some kind of relaxation therapies. Like we were discussing last week when you said your gurus kept saying have the weekend off. And you went, I can't. You've got to be counterintuitive and get plenty of rest time, because when you're well resourced in that way, you can make better decisions. But 2, review everything that you do in a day and then add it up to 5 days or 7 days in a week and work out what's the easiest task I could start by outsourcing, because that will free up some time. And even if you just do nothing in the time except reduce the overwhelm.
Yeah. Get a cleaner. That'll give you that.
Start from the bottom. This thing about overwhelm, doing everything myself. Do you have to, Hannah? So what could be, write down everything you do and what could be done by somebody else, and how efficient are you being in overwhelm?
Yeah. Yeah, excellent idea.
I bet doing what she does for a living, she's got endless amounts of potential clients. So she could scale this to whatever level she wants. And I think quality of life is important. She already lives in a lovely place. I think, you've got to work out what you want. There's no right or wrong, I think. But I don't think a partner is a magical solution. Quite the opposite.
Yeah. I love the way she said that, listener, with feeling.
Well, you're not the only one I've heard, Nicola. I've got plenty of them.
Oh, God.
But actually, the right VA and the right outsourced resource can be magical solutions. And at the beginning, when I was too busy and I outsourced a lot to, say, Sandra de Freitas in Toronto, who was 5 hours behind me.
I remember, yeah.
But Sandra was absolute wizard. It was brilliant. You got to find the right person. Most of my clients, their first experiment in outsourcing or hiring an associate or working with other people is complete disaster, because they don't do the other thing the E-Myth teaches you to do, which is to delegate, not abdicate. So this is your first journey into being a manager. If you outsource something and you manage a VA, they're not magicians. They're only going to be as good as you teach them and manage them to be. But once you've made that investment in them, they're going to be worth more than their price to you.
Yes. Yes, that and especially if you give them, the encourage them to come to you with better ways of doing things, which was
once. I think not from day one, but I think three months in, or if they start. It's a bit like when a hairdresser once said to me, I'd been to every other hairdresser in the salon, and I finally ended up with Mary, and she said, "Surely you don't want this haircut again, do you?" And I went, "No, I certainly don't. But you're the first person in the salon to recommend it." When good people who know that they're good at things are quite quick to say, "Could I suggest a better way of doing this?"
Yes.
Don't make them stick to your broken way if they're naturally talented at things that are overwhelming you.
Yeah. Yeah, good advice. Hopefully we've helped there. I think we've given some good ideas anyway.
Yeah, overwhelm's key. What could you do to reduce overwhelm? Tapping, massage, swimming, meditating, journaling. Get that overwhelm down, because you'll make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your word of the week then?
Distance, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute.
Okay. Squirrel is mine.
Oh, my word.
I feel like a squirrel, squirreling away things all over the shop.
Nuts, basically.
Under the trees, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think a squirrel only squirrels away nuts, doesn't he?
Well, you don't know.
I'm writing in brackets here, nuts.
He is. Project updates then.
I hope I've remembered to explain somewhere in here about distance. Yes, I have. So flushed with success after doing my property accounts on Monday. I spent most of Tuesday reviewing my progress to date with modules 1 and 2A and 2B of the Jordan Peterson self-authoring project. And I was glad I did, because it got me back into the thinking and the feeling and the whole point. And it set me up nicely for going forward yesterday, Wednesday, with module 3 that was delighted that when I opened module 3, I'd already done 50% of it. So I've got...
Wow.
It's a 5-hour module, so technically I've got 2.5 hours left, and actually took it up from 50 to 66% yesterday. And I remember thinking when I did it, there was a litany of ghastliness that my life had been. Do you remember me saying that and us having a dark laugh at it? And I discovered on reviewing this week that wasn't true at all, and I loved the sense of who it revealed to me that I am once I'd put some distance between me and the original writing. And today, having taken it up yesterday from 50 to 60%, I think I'm nearly there, and I pretty much know what I'm going to write in the rest of it. So I've had a hell of a week, Nicola. I'm chuffed to bits. And do you know what's the secret of my success is? The desk.
Oh, okay.
I'm a changed woman with a proper desk. A changed woman. No, I'm not. I'm a reverted woman. I've reverted to alpha type.
You do sound much more energetic, focused.
Well, I won't be doing this next week. I've done all my work for the month in week 1. I'll just have you lying down with in the garden next week.
Okay. You got a garden there then?
Oh, it's my job, Chatelaine.
Oh.
Huge garden. Huge.
Have you had the answer to all your questions about the mystery?
Yes, I do. I now understand what's required of me. I don't understand how to do some of it, but I do now fully understand what is required of me.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly tell you that I'm very, very thrilled with the final results of my 5-day challenge.
Oh, good.
That's our 57 registered, 12 active. 2 new students who are both serious business people, and one done-for-you inquiry who I'm talking to tomorrow morning. And I thought they were in Australia, but they turned out to be in Ireland.
Okay.
So not that far away at all. But I had both calls with the 2 new students today. They each turned up on one of the group calls and had me all to themselves because nobody else arrived. And the interesting thing about that was that I managed to save one of them from potentially binning half her income by having a little mooch around her Google Analytics, which led us to look at her e-commerce store because we couldn't find anything on her WordPress website. We've remedied that, obviously. And the Shopify store shows us where half her traffic comes from and half her income comes from, which is her website that she thought wasn't getting any traffic at all. So
fabulous.
We both sat and looked at it, and I said, I think I've just given you a 4 times return on investment there in the first call. And she said, yeah, I think you have.
No bad thing to point that out now and again, Nicola.
No, I don't think so. I didn't used to. I used to be...
No, too modest. I agree, me too. Mm. But I do love a mooch, though. You've had a mooch. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I said earlier, the boring things when you find yourself going, shall we open your Google Analytics again? And actually what that little trail led us to was a decision that could have been potentially catastrophic. So
yeah.
Saving.
Sorry, I missed what would the catastrophic decision have been?
Well, because she was thinking about closing her website and just keeping her Shopify shop.
Oh, I see.
But by tracking down where the traffic, I said, well, you can't do that.
No, but nobody would have come to the Shopify shop. That's what you're saying.
Well, half the people wouldn't
have.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly. And, so, there's nothing wrong with a bit of mooching around the Google Analytics occasionally, I don't think. And so I enjoyed that. That made me feel very justified.
I outsource mooching around my Google Analytics.
Do you? What, you pay someone to tell you?
That's what Charlotte does for me. That's what Charlotte does.
Well, there's a difference between mooching around making it work and...
No, she does that as well.
She
does that as well. She sends me little messages saying...
Oh, nice.
I am very lucky in her.
Yeah, very nice. That's it, really. I had a Write Club meeting with my ladies this week, and we all did a bit of free writing. It wasn't my turn to submit, but my submission will be coming up in 2 weeks' time. So I've got to write something soon, 500 words at the very least. So I don't know. I'm not feeling very inspired about it at the moment. But
John and I agreed on Saturday as writers. Something that I try to convince all of my clients who are writers, and John totally agreed with me. He and I are twin souls. Writers, right? You turn up and do 500 words every day is what he agreed with me.
Yeah.
There's no way round it.
No, I know.
But he's from the tough school. He's from the tough school of life, which is, he cycled 16 miles over to and from and 16 miles home again.
What, to your house?
Yeah.
Good God, they cycled.
No, he did. She came in the car with the lunch. But she's already a twiglet. She doesn't need to do cycling.
That's true. God, some people have got the genes, haven't they?
Well, my brother would cycle as well, but he would probably put the bike in the back and go home in the car, I think.
Mm. So what you're saying is sit down and write the bloody thing.
I would say that if you want to think of yourself as a writer, I don't know, not you, let's depersonalize this. If any of us wants to think of ourselves as a writer, we must write every day as if we were. In fact, John and I swapped favourite quotes. And, my favourite is, there's nothing to writing. You just turn up at the typewriter and open a vein. You've actually got to turn up, present yourself to the muse. And I told him the story about the year that I blogged 365 days and the muse didn't turn up until the 28th of January. The muse wasn't with me for the remaining 340 something days. It's just, it doesn't get easy unless you're prepared to do hard.
Yeah, I know.
And hard is the daily discipline. I'm not addressing this to you.
No.
I can't even get my clients to do that.
Oh.
And actually with the artists, I say, just if in doubt, go into the studio and make some art.
Yes, and I think now that I don't have to keep constantly thinking about my business process and turning that over in the back of my mind, I might have to
I understand. More emotional freedom. I agree. Yeah, more room.
Okay, so who or what's impressed you this week?
How many have you got?
I've only got one short one.
I've got 2, and I think I could bang on at length about the second one.
All right, so why don't you do the first one, then I'll do mine, and then we'll go to the banging on at length.
So I found this. In fact, I said to you a week ago Thursday, I've got something you're going to love, but I forgot to tell it to you last week. It's a YouTube channel called Twins the New Trend. So Twins the New is one word and trend is the second word. And they're a duo of teenage musicians.
Yeah.
And their whole channel is dedicated to the first time they listen to music they've never heard before. You know that thing where you show teenagers a rotary dial phone and it's the same as that. So the first one I watched them was Jolene by Dolly Parton. Then they do Nirvana, the Carpenters, Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, Freddie Mercury, Tracy Chapman, Whitney Houston, the Fugees. It's a totally brilliant idea. And because they're musicians, they've never heard Whitney Houston singing the song from The Bodyguard before, when she does that massive, well, because they're teenagers. And of course, but the point is, because they're musicians, the minute they hear Whitney sing, their eyes go huge and they're just in awe of these old music stars from not just before they were born, but decades before they were born.
Years ago.
And then I found it via a sort of sanitized version of that, where two guys with slacker beards who can sing very nicely in harmony with one another and guitars travel the world with all the right equipment and sing beautiful songs in front of sort of landmarks, like they sing on the rocks at the edge of the Grand Canyon or outside the, I forget what they're called. And that's lovely and polished. But these boys are in their bedroom, they're teenagers, and they are modern musicians. I don't know what music they make because, I don't really understand their kind of music. But the whole point of this is they were trying to understand my kind of music, and they were impressed by all of it. When I saw one of them see Frank Sinatra in black and white with the Rat Pack, he just loved it. And Tracy Chapman and the Fugees, when they hear these people's voices and their musicianship, they just love it, and they respect all the music, even if they've never heard any of it before. That's the whole point.
So, do you get any sense of who's choosing the next tunes for them to listen?
No, I don't know how. I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know whether their grandma or their mum says Tracy Chapman. I don't know, but YouTube is full of music they've never heard before, isn't it?
I am going to do some research because it's such a brilliant idea.
It's a brilliant idea. I've written brilliant in capitals here. And as soon as I saw it, I knew you'd absolutely bloody love it. Yeah. It's actually, I tell you what, I don't watch all the videos all the way through, because once you've seen their initial reaction to it, that's kind of it. And actually, I probably will never watch the channel ever again because I've seen them do half a dozen of it. But they're so sweet. And I absolutely adore people who love all. So, for instance, I said to a boyfriend I hardly knew once, what sort of music do you like? And he said, good music. And he meant, I don't care what sort it is, as long as it's good. And what these kids are appreciating is, these people can sing, they can write. And actually, I don't know whether they picked up that Bodyguard song was written by Dolly Parton, but the first one that I saw them do was Jolene. And, country and western, she's written it. She's got a great voice, which is unique. She's playing the guitar on the track. And they're just... it's not what they buy or anything, but they're totally amazed by the talent that was around 40, 30, 20 years ago.
Oh, my God, that's so good. I'm off to watch hours of it.
I think you will love it, actually. That's why I couldn't wait to share it with you.
And always trying to come up with new ideas for Phoebe to get back on YouTube. And that is...
I think that's a lovely idea. I think it's innocent. I think it's sweet. I think it's simple. Yeah. Actually, when you see a good idea for a YouTube channel, it's fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm always so impressed when people come up with.
I think the other one is a good idea. Those two boys traveling the world with their higher quality,
Yeah.
They've got guitars and amps, and they've got good recording material, and they're sharing their tracks. And the combination of the lovely vistas and their talent is good. But it's not as much fun as these two teenagers in their bedroom, funnily enough.
Good stuff.
It's slightly too slick, that's why.
Yeah, we like things a bit rough around the edges, a bit more
just innocent, joy. Yeah.
Okay, well, mine is three-part series on the iPlayer called Big Cats, and it's the one I particularly enjoyed. The first one is all about the real big cats, and the second one is about little cats. And the one I particularly enjoyed on part 2 is called Pallas's Cat, Pallas. Apostrophe, I suppose. And it's cats that live on the Mongolian plains, and they stalk, because it's so open, they stalk by turning themselves into what looks like rocks. And in order to do that, their ears have grown sideways so that they can flatten themselves and look like a rock. And I just felt they are very fluffy and very sweet.
You don't even really like cats.
I don't know, but I happily watch. I love tigers and lions and things.
Okay.
And there was one guy who obviously has brought up a lion pride, rescued lions.
Yeah,
and he's part of the pride. And this massive maned male lion came to give him a big hug.
Oh, I've seen that. That on YouTube. It was deeply moving. They never forget the people that have rescued them and looked after them. I know, God.
Quite amazing. And so that was it. Yes. So what's your second one?
It's Mrs. America, also on BBC iPlayer. The true story of a woman called Phyllis Schlafly, who I'd never heard of. But she was against the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment for giving women, equal rights in America in the 70s. It's got this wonderful 70s soundtrack. It's got Gloria Steinem. Oh, it's got Gloria Steinem. It's got Betty Friedman. That's Rose Byrne and Tracy Ullman. It's got Cate Blanchett in the main role, and you've got this battle between the women, the housewife women who didn't want equal rights for women.
Wow.
That was led by Phyllis Schlafly, and versus what they call, the women's libbers, who are pro right to life and all that kind of stuff. It's history, but it's very watchable and fabulous 70s music soundtrack. And
good clothes.
And actually, they've got, I think, 7, 8 or 9 programs, and each one is dedicated to a key player in this. Mrs. Schlafly goes all the way through, but Gloria Steinem gets her own show, and Betty Friedan gets her own show. And if you're a 70s libber like me, it's what's not to love.
Yeah, very nice.
History. I love my history. Not that I was too closely connected with, but I vaguely remember, because in the 70s, I was only 15. I wasn't marching on the front lines or anything, but
no.
I was a fledgling feminist by 15.
Yeah, I was too. Good stuff. All right, that's us done. Thank you very much.
All right, see you next week.
You will.
See ya.
Bye. You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.